All right, greetings everyone. This is Washington State Building Code Council IBC Technical Advisory Group for October 10th, 2024. Can we please jump in and take roll?
Chair Primary Todd Baberther.
Yes.
Chair Alternate Roger Hiringa.
Here.
Thank you. Architect Primary Joe Mayo.
Here.
Thank you. The alternate Chair Fortaleza declined the meeting. Building Official Primary Tim Woodard. I'm not seeing them in the room here today. Alternate Steve Belzak. Also not seeing them in the room here either. Fire Services Primary Lance Dahl.
Here.
Thank you. Cities and Counties Primary Hoyt Jeter.
I'm here.
Thank you. Affordable Housing Representative Primary Todd Sullivan. Not seeing them in the audience here today. General Contractor or Developer Primary Bill Mebush. And I'm not seeing them in the room here today. Our Manufacturer Supplier Primary Brian Horseman declined the meeting. Structural Engineer Primary Joshua Mergens.
Present.
Thank you. Alternate Trent Tenney. Not seeing them in the room today. Persons with Disability or Accessibility Expert Primary Michael Shaw. Not seeing them in the list here today. Building Owner or Property Manager Primary Brett Conway.
Present.
Thank you. General Public Subject Matter Expert Primary Michael Barth.
Here.
Thank you. The alternate Leah Summer. I don't see them in the room today. And then our State Enforcement Agency Primary Paul Clark declined the meeting, and our Fire Protection Engineer Primary Andy Leonto declined the meeting. And Tim, you have your hand up?
Hey, Dustin, I'm actually here. It's
Gotcha.
Angie.
Just letting you know that I got here while you were taking roll, but after the building official roll was taken.
Awesome. I got you there. Anybody else that I may have skipped or wasn't here right when I went by their name?
Dustin, just making sure. Did you get my name, Andy?
I do have you in here, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 seats represented, and our quorum is 8. So we have 1 spare person today. So Josh, if you're the only one who leaves, we will be okay.
Dustin, Steve Belzak here. I'm also a few minutes late.
Oh, gotcha. Let me get in here. So Steve, you're the alternate for the building official. So
Right.
we're still good with quorum on that one, but if Josh is the one who leaves, we'd be at quorum, but we'd still have issue if somebody else left.
Okay.
And this is Michael Shaw. I'm present. I was a couple of minutes late as well.
Gotcha. That gives us 2 extra seats.
Okay, good. Thank you. We're healthy today. Okay, so we're going to go into agenda. Well, I'm sorry. Any of the introductions? Anyone from the public like to be recognized? Go ahead. I see AGS. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Al Spalding, Department of Health Construction Review Program.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Al. Welcome. Anyone else? Elizabeth?
This is Elizabeth Torsky with Cascade Natural Gas. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick?
Hello, this is Patrick Hanks with the Building Industry Association of Washington.
Welcome. Micah?
Micah Chappelle, Technical Code Development Manager, Seattle Department of Construction and Inspections, and the Washington Association of Building Officials Technical Code Development Committee Chair. Thanks.
Great. Welcome. Kathleen, please.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Petrie, Program Manager with King County. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathleen. Ross?
Yeah, hi there, Ross Freeman, EV Planner in the King County Executive Climate Office. Thanks.
Okay, good. John or Micah, who is John going to represent the Wabo proposal, or are you going to do it, Micah?
John will be, and he did request that from Dustin to be moved.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, anyone else like to be recognized? Okay, if not, then item 2 is to review and approve the agenda. Before we hear a motion to approve, the intent is to go straight through and move at a good pace today to try to get through many of these. If you remember from last time, we got through 093, which was construction documents, and then we spent the rest of the time on 118, which is the NBI greenhouse gas proposal. If you remember, we tabled that for a future meeting, so we're going to pick up with the order today. Can we first hear a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Before we move forward on that one, I want to mention on item number 3, we don't have minutes ready for that one, so we could skip past that one. And then John Sue representing our proposal in item number 7, it won't be here until after 3, and so I'm proposing we move that agenda item till after item number 14, which will clear us out of chapter 4 and give him some time to get here to represent that proposal.
After 14, okay, and then 15, will that be Mike or John?
I think that one's a Micah proposal.
Okay, if we get there. Okay, so we have a motion to approve the agenda with that change.
Can I make one more change if it's possible?
Of course.
Looking for the state building code, looking about that where they change, the legislation that's changing the number of childcare thing. Is it possible to move that down as the last one under me? I think
so take number 5 down to the end of the list.
Yeah, because I'll be here the whole time. So I just want to that family home daycare with it, which is a bill, and I can't seem to locate it on my machine, and I know it hasn't been passed yet. I think I sent that to Dustin and them. Maybe he knows it and I could pull it up. So
okay, so that's 127, right? Number 5,
yeah,
agenda item 5.
I think so. Yeah. The number of childcare from 12 to 16. That's correct.
Okay, thank you. So can we hear a motion to approve the agenda, moving 5 to the end and moving number 7 behind 14?
So this is Tim. I believe what Hoyt will need is 5 and 6 to be moved to the location you specified. The previous change to move John's, and I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes with those modifications.
Okay.
So 5 and 6 moved till after item number 18.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I have no problem.
Okay.
They're both the same issue, that same legislation, so I think you'd need them both shifted.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. Is there a second to Tim's motion?
Yeah, I can second Brett Conway.
Thank you, Brett. Any other discussion on the agenda? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so approved as noted. Skipping item 3. We're at public comment, item number 4. Would anyone like to address the tag or something that's not on the agenda? Okay. Well, thank you. Then seeing none, that means we are starting with item number 8.
Correct. Before we get there, I didn't quite catch who the motioners and seconders were for the agenda. Could I get
Tim and Brett?
Tim and Brett, thank you. And just as a reminder, as we're making motions throughout the meeting, just state your name when you make the motion, so we can hear it and take note of that one. All right, I guess we're ready for number 8 then.
Correct.
Share a screen. All right, this one is I believe this one was done on behalf of the IBC tag here, but Hoyt just has his name on it in City of Tacoma. Hoyt, would you mind presenting this one for us as we start?
Yeah, no problem. This is actually the same one. This is a bill that's going through where they're changing the designation. I apologize, I didn't jump to that one, where they're changing from 12 to 16 for daycare. If you go down to actually, there it is right here. Daycare to 16 or fewer children shall be classified as an R3. That's the same issue. If we can, I'd like to hear that one afterwards. I'm just looking to see if the one question I have is I want to make sure that bill has been passed. If that bill has been passed and signed into law, I think I sent an email on this. That's the one thing I couldn't find. If it doesn't, then we should keep it as it is right now as 12. But if the bill gets passed, this would just match what the bill has been sent up there to do.
So
the other thing in the IRC, that's important to make sure is clear. This was for the IRC part. That's already assuming that that's sprinkled building in the IRC. It's not clear, I think, when it was in the legislation, when I was reading it, that they got that accomplished too, that if you go to the 16, that is assuming that those family daycares are having a sprinkler system. And that was, hopefully that made sense. And if anyone, any questions, please feel free to ask me.
So the reasoning, I guess, for the tag to have embarked on this proposal was because of some changes made in the IRC code earlier in the year to increase from 12 to 16. Boyd, I'm still searching down your email here. You didn't happen to find it. You're saying there's some sort of legislation coming down the line that's going to make this relevant in RCW?
Yes, that's what I let me see where it is. If you give me a second, I'll find it. It was an RCW. Okay, it might be. Let me just see which one it is.
Roger, go ahead and fill in while Hoyt's looking there.
So I'm doing this from memory, but the full SBCC did an emergency rule last year to go ahead and make this change, I believe. So it wasn't only legislation necessarily. I think that this came to the SBCC as a request for an emergency rule, and we went ahead and approved that to allow 16 to go from 12 to 16. So I'm not remembering all the details, but I remember the whole conversation at the end we said yes, we will go from 12 to 16. So
okay.
If others
Thank you, Roger. We'll go to Michael
have better memories than me, then great.
Yeah, I think we'll unpack it here. Okay, Michael, thank you, Roger.
I was just going to comment, I'm looking at my printed version of the 21 amendments and it is 16 in there. I haven't checked that online, but it looks like
for the IBC, for the IBC or the, oh, okay. If it is,
I'm looking at my IBC amendment page for 305.2.4 and it already is 16 or fewer. So
oh,
I mean,
perfect.
I'll look real quick to see what's posted on the WAC, but I think we're already there.
Oh, that's great. That's what I wanted to be sure on. I thought it was too, but I just, for some reason, these have been kicked to our IR. I don't do IRC reviews. I'm in the IBC all the time, but I just wanted those two to match. But it looks like other people have their hand up. So.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Micah, tell us what we're looking at.
Sorry, my hand I'm muted. There we go. Just to answer Michael's question, the WAC is not correct for 305 yet for 2021. The printed versions, I think we kind of updated early based on the knowledge that rule was going to go through. That was going to be my question. According to the rulemaking page, the CR 102 was filed on 11/3/23. That's what Roger was alluding to. However, that did not modify the building code, so I think that's why this is in here from Hoyt. It modified the residential code, that CR 102. I'm not sure if the CR 103 is completed yet. Dustin can answer that for us. But I agree with Hoyt on this one, is this does need to go through. I don't believe it's captured in the WAC. It's not in the ICC online version of the 2021 code. And the CR 102 only captured it for the residential code and not the building code. So hopefully this will go through. I think that is accurate at this point, that it does need to be included in a code change proposal. Thanks.
And I agree with the statement there, Micah.
Yeah, the one thing, can I just ask, so you can look this up? I just found it. There was an OTC, Washington State Registered issue 12/24/08. It's WSR 2408-36, OTC 5294.1. This was amended on 3/15/2024. Okay. And this was the WAC 5150-020. And if you go down there, that's, if you look at an amended section, and amended by WSR 13-04-067, filed on 2/1/13, effective 7/1/13. What it says, 305.2.5, and this is the WAC 5150-0304. It said, family home childcare licensed by Washington State for the care of, and they struck out 12 and they put 16 or fewer children, shall be classified as an R3, or shall comply with International Residential Code. So I'm sorry, it took me a while to find it. I apologize on that.
Could you shout back out that WSR number for me real quick?
Yeah, yes, I can. Give me a second. WSR 24-08-036. And all I wanted to do, while you're pulling that up, and hopefully you can share it on the screen, all I wanted to do is the match, because it doesn't make sense why the IBC would be different than the IRC in this situation. So, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that this isn't already adopted for family home care licensed by Washington State. And please share it online.
This particular WSR is for 5150 and 30. So it's made to correlate the changes in the 2021 IRC, and
I think if you go down there, you'll see 16. I got it open on my screen right now. I think they crossed out 16. Yeah, there it is, right there, 305.2.4. You got it right in the middle of the screen. Oh, you just passed it. Go back down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see it there. So,
so
this one, I think that there is some issue here. So this is a CR 105, I do believe. And I don't think that there's a CR 103 filed on this one. So the process isn't complete with this rulemaking change in the 2021 codes on that one. So
good.
The change was completed in the IRC. There was some legislation that affected the Department of Children, Youth, and Family that allowed them to issue waivers, increasing beyond 12. But there was no coordination with the building code on those waivers. And so there are in existence some family home childcare uses in excess of 20 occupants there for their program. And so they're having to walk back some of those waivers that they issued out there. So the reason this is included is part of the cleanup from the IRC to bring these rules across to the building code so that we don't have conflicting information out there.
Thanks for that, Dustin. That was going to be my comment too. And there was a lot of work done to get this to 16 because there was more than 20. There was 30 being allowed in some extreme circumstances due to those waivers. So I'm pretty comfortable with this moving forward. And if we're ready, I'd be happy to make a motion to approve this. It looks like John's got his hand up now. Sorry.
Go ahead, John.
You can do the motion first and then we can have the discussion.
Okay. I'll do a motion for us to move this forward.
Okay. This was Tim.
I can
To
second that.
Michael, thank you for the second. Okay, now John, please.
Yeah, I don't have a specific concern about this particular item. I agree with aligning with the two codes. My concern is about that this is not the whole thing. In that the IRC, from what I could tell, the IRC has a few more things in there that the IBC does not. So if you just go to an R3 with 16 under the IBC, the IRC has at least one or two other things, and I have to go back and look at my emails and things like that. Has at least one or two other things that are in addition to what the IBC would require. And so I don't know if there's any mechanism to make sure the two, you're not getting something less with the R3 and the IBC than you do under the IRC. That's my main concern here, is that this kind of highlighted, it's an existing code problem. It's something that's been in there for a while, but again, these proposals just kind of highlighted that for me.
So if I may just address John real quick. So this particular one, there's a couple other one that Hoyt has proposals on that cover this in a couple other sections of the IBC. And there is, go ahead.
No, I think the other one it just raises the number again, if I'm reading that correctly again. And the issue is that, okay, let me look at this real quickly. For instance, okay, so the IRC has a whole section on adult family homes. It's R331. And if you go through that and compare it to what's required for an R3, there's some differences in the language. For instance, in R331, section R331 in the IRC, the first paragraph requires 2 remote exits for every floor used for family home childcare, and requires exterior exit doors be operable from the inside, without special knowledge or effort, meaning no double cylinder locks. And just kind of depends how you read IBC Chapter 10. These things might not be covered. The IRC prohibits family home childcare centers in certain places, some of which are covered by assuming the building is sprinklered. But for instance, the IRC only, even if the building is sprinklered with a 13D system, the IRC or the state residential code would only allow you a family home childcare on the second floor and not above that. So that again, there are a couple inconsistencies in there. I can give you, some of the list, but I don't know if there's a mechanism to do that because there's no specific proposal out there to make those things happen.
Gotcha. As part of the work done to do the work in IRC, it was intended to be coordinated with the building code, and there are some drafts out there. I don't have them right at my fingertips to pull up here, but I'll just point out that the published version of the 2021 code does not have some additional sections in here. This initial section 331.1 is got a little bit of revision in it as compared to what's here in red. And then when we go above 12 children into the 13 to 16 range, there's a little bit of some extra requirements here at the bottom. And I would have to just go back and double check what we need to touch on, but it's my understanding that the increase from 12 to 16 in the building code, in my recollection, are the only sections that we needed to touch on to correlate the change and keep the 12 to 16 children in the IRC. But I hear what you're saying, that if we go to R3 with something, that we might have a less restrictive pathway here. And I want to say that we addressed it, but I'd have to go back and re-review the finalized documents for what we did in the residential code.
Okay, it's more the other, yeah. do we need to update the building code to reflect what's in the residential code? Yeah.
Okay. I guess as far as this specific proposal goes, this one helps us, dang it, align with what was done in the IRC. It may not solve the problem of what you're pointing out there, John, though, with what we have on the proposals here today.
Understood. Understood.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that, John. Hoyt.
Yeah, the one thing that I look at, the IRC is not a design professional one, it's prescriptive code. Okay. I agree with John. My intent was to try to align them to make them the same, because when we're in the IBC, for the way we interpret it, there's a design professional preparing this and meeting all these requirements. And all I wanted to do is I really wanted them to match. And that's the thing. So if that was approved, I do have the state law thing, so you'd be able to pull that up, as I mentioned earlier. But that was my whole intent on putting that through, is trying to make sure they're in alignment, and not having not in alignment, because how that gets interpreted could get very confusing at one time. I do believe, in my personal opinion, I'm giving my personal opinion here, I do when drawings are prepared by a design professional throughout the IBC, I would say in a general form, a lot of times those are very good and well detailed, because you're dealing with a design professional. Sometimes in the IRC, it's less, it doesn't have to be a design professional. Not saying they're not very good, please don't take it that way, but some of the communications, but I do think they should be in alignment. I just don't want people to go from the IBC to all jump to the IRC and not having the same. Hopefully that made sense. And I did intend to have a match, and I thought I did. I've had a couple people from the IRC go through this, and they said it matched, but I could be wrong on that. So I could always double check.
So looking here, this is the CR 105 that we were looking at that wasn't finalized. And this includes all of the suggested changes to the building code. As far as changes in the definition, we've got 12 to 16 here. I don't think that there's anything else in the definition section popping out at me for the change. In 30524, which is what we're talking about, just a change from 12 to 16. Similar in, let's see, 308.2 or section 308. Why are we not? Okay. And I guess in 308, it's just this change in 308.5.5 down here at the very bottom. And I can't bring that up into the middle. Tim.
Actually, I just saw Ardell jump on, and I think I mentioned her earlier because she was working on this very heavily.
He was very instrumental in the drafting of what we got.
I'll defer to her.
So I'll be honest, I thought we had this passed, Dustin. So I know that I submitted these changes in both the fire code and the building code to align with the residential code. So I think that's maybe going through and seeing what needs to happen to close those out. Going back to John's question of, can you get an R3 with less requirements than the 331 provisions out of the residential code? John, you're right. That is something that we have as an existing conflict right now with the 12 or fewer, and just calling it an R3 without having to meet the same provisions that are within the 331. And that was not, those were not changes that I went back and reviewed for, because again, the push was, we want to keep it in the residential code. And so I didn't do the backtrack of kind of going back and seeing, okay, well, what if we chose to keep it in building code? That is something that I think would be beyond the scope of fixing as part of this code change if the tag wanted us to look at that. I don't know. It sounds like it's beyond the scope. And I guess the question for Dustin is, if 5150 gets changed as proposed, like, is this still part of the rulemaking that needs to finish out for the 21 code to clean up building code?
I would say yes, this needs to be finished out, but I think that there's some hurdles here that I would need to talk to the code revisor on. We have this CR 105 filed on it. The problem right now is that this CR 105 is expired, and we would need to refile that before we can file the CR 103 to make the permanent change. And that's why these proposals are included in our 2024 body of work, because it's not officially finalized in the IBC or IFC. And so if I can have a chance to talk to the code revisor, see if there's an issue with us refiling this on the same topic. I don't think that there may be, there may not be. I might be confusing the emergency rule process versus the expedited rule process. And if there's no problem filing it, we could refile this same CR 105, go through the waiting period, and then file CR 103 on it. The big thing that I'd want to try to avoid on this is making it seem like we are excluding the public from participation. I know that during the process where we developed what's in the residential code, we had lots of public input. And as part of those filings, it is stated that we were going to follow up in the building code and the fire code with expedited rulemaking. And so that was the plan, just some turmoil in the time period when these filings should have occurred. It got missed.
So with that, I would, at least from what's all been summarized, it sounds like these are proposals that will need to go through. And I guess the one gap I'm not clear on is, do we need to submit 331 changes as part of 2024 code changes at the state, or will those carry through as existing amendments that will still be reviewed by the TAG?
The 331 amendments in the residential code will carry through as existing amendments.
Okay.
In the next group.
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ardell. Tim?
I just, again, I still think this change needs to go through just to coordinate, because already DCFH, don't know if I got the acronym right.
Close.
This is the way they're working it, right? So if we don't make these changes, and those rules about the secondary exit exist in their rulemaking as well, we pulled them into the IRC so that everything was in one spot, but they already exist, and those additional requirements would theoretically exist, but they wouldn't be being reviewed for during our code review. So I think it is something we need to follow up on and submit a proposal to add those changes to maybe chapter 4 of the IBC, but I still would want this change to go through now.
Hey, Dustin, I feel like I know what you're talking about on the CR 105, which is the expedited. Are you saying that it was not filed in the CR 103 like it was supposed to after the 45 days, and therefore it didn't roll over yet? And I'm confused, when I look at my ICC codes, are they just being proactive in listing it? Why do I see it there and not in the WAC? I mean, it hasn't been filed yet, I know in the WAC, but I mean.
Are you talking about the ICC ones online for the residential or for the
building? So 305.2.4 is in there already, exactly as we're debating right here.
I think that as all this was done, the intent was to get it all filed before the publishing was complete on those codes. We did submit these revisions in that final text there. So if we
technically the online iCode is just ahead of the actual CR 103 being filed.
Correct.
And then we're debating for 2024. Am I capturing this correctly?
Correct.
Okay. .305.
305.2.
Right there. See, isn't that what we're discussing?
Yes, but we've got 12 or fewer children in here. This is
and we're crossing
to be
16.
Yeah,
okay.
that would go to 16. That's what I was proposing.
Yes.
Okay, Michael.
I agree with Tim that we should probably run this through at least as a piece of it, as the first piece of the puzzle. If later we need to take some of the R331 provisions and somehow find a way where they go into the IBC, that would be a separate process and a separate project. But I do agree with Tim that at least getting the number changed here is the first step that should move forward.
Okay, any other discussion? Otherwise, we have the motion on the table to move this forward. Okay, if we're ready, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, got that one. So moving on to number 9 here. Close that out. So number 9 is also a proposal drafted by Hoyt. This is same thing here, family home childcare changing from 12 to 16. On this one, just a quick criticism that it should read what the existing amendment was and show the change here. Let me.
Yeah, I messed up on that. Sorry.
That's all right. I think that I can get that drafted in here real quick. This is.
Dustin, the one we just approved also kind of needed some legislative formatting.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. I should have had the 12 in there and had a strikeout for it.
Hey, while we're going through this, John, you came in late. You're aware that we moved the 054, the temporary event, to behind the other one you're representing, 514?
Okay, yes, that's fine. Yeah, I did. Dustin emailed me and let me know.
Okay, is that okay?
Thanks. That's
So-
fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And all
Go ahead,
this one
Dustin,
did, just to let you know, this is just saying you either do it as an R3 in the IBC or you go over and you use the International Residential Code. And it's the same thing making this stuff math.
So I'm going to save this one since it didn't show that. So I'd like to, if we make a recommendation to adopt as we have drafted here, I just want to remind everybody here that we will be going over everything one more time to show any of the changes at the end of our process, similar as we did to our existing amendments and significant changes reports. We kind of hit them in groups. And then at the very end, we said, is there any other issues here that we want to address? And then we did a final group movement.
Yeah, the only thing is I did find out the WAC 5150-0305, that's where it talks about where it went to 16. If you wanted to, so that way you don't have to try to remember which WAC it was. So
5150-305.
0305, section 305, it says educational group E, and it says 305.2.5, family home daycare center. It crossed F12 and went to 16.
Gotcha.
I just thought, it took me a while to pull it up again, and just so I should have had it in there when I did it the first time. I'm sorry again.
It's all right. So this is the one we're looking at. Tim, you have some comment?
Sorry, Tim. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention. Go ahead.
So if I understood you correctly, Dustin, we can still vote this through, and then you can make those format changes if necessary, and then we
So
review
here's
those
what
at the end.
This here with the highlight is what I changed in this document, and I'm actually going back to mess with 132 while we're talking about it, and I'm going to try to get that one done. And We'll get it all posted up on the spreadsheet. We're trying to get that spreadsheet updated by the day after the tag meeting so that we can see there's revisions made at the tag level or what the movement is on specific proposals.
Yeah, and just to let you know, just to repeat, so you have it, that's the amended WSR 23-22-115. It was filed on October 31st, 2023, and it was effective March 15th, 2024, and it's actual section 308.5.5, family home childcare.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I'm kind of
Hey,
mad at
Dustin,
myself
just as
for
a
not.
small note on the one we just moved forward on 305.2.4, might want to check in the proposal that it says for the care of 16 or fewer children.
Okay,
It
so
might be missing a dot on there.
here, I'll review it real quick on screen with everybody.
Try to bog us down, but just for consistency, I assume they're supposed to say the same thing, right?
Yeah, so here's
Yeah.
on the left is what it says in WAC there, family home. Family home childcare.
Just
childcare licensed by the Washington
the care.
Washington State for the care of 12 for the care of look that one up. $16 or fewer children.
Yeah, what he's saying, Dustin, just to read it, I'll read it verbatim so you could have it out of the whack. Okay, it says family home child care licensed by Washington State for the care of 16 or fewer children shall be classified as an R3 or shall comply with International Residential Code.
I think we have that one drafted correctly now.
Okay.
All righty.
This, Mike, I'd go ahead and make a motion to approve this as corrected and as put into the proper legislative format.
Okay, so
MW, I would second that.
Okay, got that, Dustin? It's been moved and seconded.
yes.
Any other discussion on 129?
Oh, this, so
Well, we should probably put it up in front of us.
is this the motion for 132 or for, we already passed that one, but we could entertain another motion to approve as corrected there. And then I'm prepped
Is that
on.
what you meant, Hoyt?
Yes, that's what I meant to make sure it matched
To
exactly.
correct 132.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, the motion was for 129 for the 308.5.5.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on 129, Dustin, even though
Gotcha.
we're correcting and showing 30.
Yeah, I have 121.9 up on the screen now.
Okay, so the motion is to move forward this 129, which is section 308.5.5. Okay,
Second, this if it hasn't been seconded yet.
I think it was Michael and Tim already, but thank you, Hoyt. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, so approved. Anyone feel the need to go back to 305 for those changes, or were they editorial?
I'd say they're editorial.
I think we're okay, unless anyone's opposed. Okay, thank you. Moving on to agenda item 10, which is 122 EV charging infrastructure. Kathleen, I believe you're the proponent. Is that correct?
It's actually Ross Freeman.
Oh, As it says right there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Russ.
Thank you.
Would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, I can just give a little preamble here. So a lot of this is in the proposal, but essentially, as we all know, this is a zero emission state, and we have a target of 2035 for no more light duty ICE vehicles being sold, new vehicles. And that's only 10 years away, and we're strongly advocating to get more preparation in place for that transition. We are a state that aligns with California's zero emissions requirements, and that state also has a 10% EV installed and 40% EV ready requirement. So we believe we should align with that, just like we align with their emission standards. Furthermore, just to kind of underscore, yes, EVs are slowly emerging in some communities, generally where there's lower salaries, lower incomes, but the secondary market for EVs is really expected to grow a lot as used vehicles, trickle down through the economy. And even right now, 80% of vehicle sales for ICE vehicles are for used. And so it's a familiar pattern. A lot of people buy used vehicles. Most people do. And the state itself is seeing this, the interest amongst low-income individuals for EVs. The state launched a rebate program this summer, and that's for income-qualified drivers only to lease or buy an EV. And that has, by Commerce's statements, that those funds are being expended 3 times faster than forecast because there's so much interest at all levels of the community. And just looking at the costs, it just makes so much sense to do the work now versus waiting to do it as a retrofit. So putting in EV ready spaces at new construction can be almost like a 5x savings over doing it at retrofit. And so we just underscore that, it's never going to be cheaper than now, probably. Costs are going up in the economy, supply chain issues, equipment issues. So doing it now and having it in code would be advisable. And just in closing, just anecdotally, we have been in touch with King County Housing Authority, which, as many of you know, operates 150 housing sites and is the landlord or subsidizes over 50,000 individuals, and they are installing EV chargers for their residents at low-income facilities because they're hearing the demand and the requests for it, and they believe that it's a service that they should be offering their residents, just like people have in single-family homes, for example, and that so. Just kind of in closing, that this proposal would increase the EV ready percentage from 25 to 40% for R2 occupancies.
Okay, thank you, Ross. And that is the one change in this proposal.
That's right. That's the only change in this proposal.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, thank you for that. Any discussion?
Can you?
Go ahead.
Yeah, can you scroll down? Where does it say 40%? I'm just trying to see where he had 40%, if you don't mind.
Oh,
right there. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So Ross, I have a question. We have another proposal with your name on it right behind this one, number 135.
Yes.
It's on the same section, but it looks a little different. Do you want to speak on that one in conjunction with this one, or I guess I just have a question on if both of these are valid proposals.
Well, the second one is talking more about EV capable and also recommending doing a little bit of cleanup work. So it might be clearer to keep them separate.
Okay, so same section, just different kind of topic within the section.
That's right.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably the right approach. Okay, Patrick, please.
Yes, this is Patrick Hanks with the Building Industry Association of Washington. I have a question. Was a life cycle cost analysis prepared for this proposal?
We In the proposal, we do not have a formal life cycle cost analysis. We do have estimations of the costs based on studies from around the West. And we do also present information about where funding and incentives and rebates can be found to meet those costs.
And then I saw that there was not a, you didn't estimate it as like the cost per dwelling unit for residential buildings.
Yeah, I can do that now. I have that in some talking points ready if that would be permissible. Just estimations based on sort of cost for various size buildings.
Thank you, Patrick. Tim, go ahead.
Did Ross want to present that now? Could he present that now, or should I go ahead with?
I can stop the share, and if Ross, if you'd like to go ahead and share what you have, we can give you permission to share there.
Yeah, and maybe while you're setting that up,
Okay.
Maybe we can just revisit one more time as a group what the requirements are for the cost component of these applications.
Okay, just a second here. We'll get this in a
Dustin, do you want to speak to that, or
format.
someone just briefly? We did a little bit last week, but
So when we're reviewing the cost component of this, when reviewing the proposals as an initial review by staff, we're looking to see that stuff in here in the proposal sections are filled out. We're not necessarily going through and checking the veracity of every single statement that's in here. For life cycle cost here, we're looking for information on how the proposed change is going to change the status quo now. So if you didn't do a life cycle cost analysis, you can have an alternate life cycle cost analysis in here. The determination by the tag may conclude that the information included here below this kind of covers that basis. As the group, we first want to review and make an opinion on the technical merit of the code change that is before us. And then as we go through and move forward, we want to take a quick look at the cost impacts that the proposal is painting for us. And if there is disagreement about what is coming out of the cost analysis for the proposal, a request could be made of the proponent to come back with a little bit more information, or we could ask the work group of economic impact to embark on that work as well.
okay, that's helpful. That's what I was looking for there, is let's evaluate the technical merit, and then the tag can have a discussion and attach, if, you know, assuming that if the tag wants to move forward on this proposal, what additional cost analysis would be desirable in this proposal. Okay, go ahead, Ross. Thank you, Dustin.
Yeah, so, thank you. I just extracted this out of my notes and put it in a new document just for to be clean. So hopefully that share is looking okay for everybody. Essentially what I did was just take some of the building sizes that I think were referred to in the BIAW comments and do a quick, back of the envelope estimation here, looking at the information from the City of Denver study a couple of years ago, where they found that on average, EV ready parking space at new construction would be $1,300 versus doing the same EV ready space as a retrofit would be $6,300. So calculating that out, just looking at what a 40% requirement would be for EV ready, in a 12-unit building, you'd be looking at that applying to 5 stalls, and just ran the math through there. So that could be $6,500 for 5 EV ready stalls versus retrofitting those same stalls could be $31,500, and just ran it through scaling up as we went up to larger and larger buildings in that hypothetical 40% scenario.
Okay, thank you, Ross. Patrick, go ahead.
Did Tim wanted to go? He had a hand up before.
Yeah. Thanks, Patrick. All I was going to say is, when I'm looking at any of these changes, I'm holding it into my head that the building code is a minimum code standard or minimum requirement, and traditionally for our other EV requirements, they've come from legislation. So we've made those changes to meet those minimum standards. So it feels like we're asking for kind of best practice standards and additional standards that aren't necessarily a minimum standard. So I think in general, I would tend to want to vote against a proposal like this as a minimum standard and then look to legislation or some other form that is asking us to increase our minimum standard prior to approving something like this. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. Patrick, you have a bump behind Hoyt there. Did you want to jump in or you want Hoyt to?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I'll say I think a life cycle cost analysis is useful when looking at a proposal like this, because part of the cost impact of increasing, I guess it would matter a little bit less with EV capable since you're not putting in the chargers, but with the next proposal, it would matter more because having a charger would affect the energy use of the building. So it's not just the installation cost, but it's also the operating cost and the replacement costs. Although sometimes that can come with EV ready as well. So I would argue, I appreciate all the information that they do provide in that section, although I think it is nice to have the per dwelling unit or the per square foot price in the proposal, because that makes an easy apples to apples comparison. Regardless of accuracy, it at least lets us easily compare proposals for the cost impact they have. But for proposals like this, having a life cycle cost analysis is really important to consider the full economic impact. I know that we have a statutory requirement for the base code language, so the kind of what we have can't really be reduced that much. But when it comes to increasing these requirements, I'm just going to say, we're in a housing crisis, and every little cost that we add to residential buildings makes it harder to build more affordable housing. Now, you can argue that this is a small cost, but typically there's other proposals that also come in the code cycle that add up. And so I think every chance we get, we have to look for ways to reduce costs and certainly not add to it. So that's mostly what I'll say for that, and I'll let Hoyt jump in.
Thank you, Patrick. Go ahead, Hoyt.
Yeah, can you share the screen again, Justin, on the code proposal, so I don't have to open it up on my other computer? Yeah, so the one thing is one for each dwelling unit. The one thing on this, I actually support increasing these things in the thing, but I'm not 100% sure at this time we should be doing this in the building code right now. I think it really should come from legislation or local ordinances by jurisdictions, because this would be applied throughout the whole state. And I'm not sure the infrastructures and experience that I've had from around the state. 40% is a pretty big increase from 25%. And so I'm not sure I'm actually in support. I'd be voting against this support to increase it to 40% right now for the whole state, and where we could actually do it as an individual ordinance, as far as we have done. I know in Tacoma we have done that. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Hoyt. Michael.
I was going to agree with Tim, well, and now agree with Hoyt as well, that it it is a minimum code, and just, we're trying to get housing as affordable as possible, and it does seem almost like we're trying to push the cart in front of the horse in this circumstance, with it not having really caught up to that yet. So I think it's pushing too much on it right now. And I too would be opposed to it.
Okay, thank you. Brett, sorry.
Great, thank you. In the backup material, I think I would like to see the cost of cost estimate of a, EV ready stall or space. I looked at the other proposal and I gleaned like $1,300 for an EV stall being constructed, a new construction as EV ready. And so that following with the conversations about increasing first costs, it seems like a 15% increase in costs for this one particular item for these units. So if $1,300 is per stall the cost, I think that needs to come through in the proposal so that we can evaluate that.
Okay, thank you, Brett. Go ahead, Micah.
I appreciate the proponents bringing this in. I know that I was involved in a lot of the discussions on the EV previously based on the legislation. If they do want to make some modifications, I ask that they include some of the information that was required by the legislation for analysis for infrastructure and energy impacts by the utilities. There were some reports that were required to be filed after September 1st, 2023 that I think would be vital to getting this proposal through. I think it would provide additional information on the cost, if the utilities have the available capacity to do this and what their plan is. I believe part of that is they have to include a 10-year plan on how to capture this electrification of the transportation in Washington. So I think if they incorporated some of that into their cost analysis, that might help the case in increasing these numbers beyond the minimums that others have already mentioned. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Micah. And I think one thing I'll add, I'm thank you for bringing this forward, and I'm very curious about it because I'm trying to remember back to the underlying justification that obviously was done in the policy making space and how they landed on 25% since it was so specific. So I'm curious in the sense that maybe there is justification within the rulemaking space to increase that. I don't think the proposal goes far enough by only looking at the first cost, of course. So maybe to Micah's point, or at least how I heard it was, is there an opportunity to go back, look at that original legislation and bring back a similar argument? And would the tag I'd like to propose to table this if the proponent's willing and bring it back in a week or two. Go ahead, Micah.
You are correct in being curious. The legislation is very specific in the percentages. So that'll be the question too, is there is a part of the legislation that says they can go beyond that percentage. So I think this could be done, but again, I think what folks are asking for is a whole lot more justification on where we stand with the utility infrastructure and the plans and everything, that whether or not this can even occur based on the percentages that were in the legislation, not additional increases.
But also align with whatever the argument was in the initial legislation, meaning I'm sure there was a life cycle. I think it's a valid question to say, what is the real life cycle cost to an occupant in addition to the first cost that Patrick was arguing on the building? Go ahead, Patrick.
Yes, I thought that the legislation had a base requirement of 10% for EV ready, and I thought that the current code exceeded that. I could be wrong, but that's what I thought. And I think if you're considering economic analysis for this proposal, it needs to be specific to the proposal. And if the legislation matches and the code, then it fits. But if it's different, the bare minimum is what the form asks for needs to be supplied. And so like life cycle costs and then the economic impact section being appropriately filled out in order to be complete. Those things need to be done. And then while I think, including the retrofit argument, it's it's an interesting point to make, but the point of the economic analysis is to consider the impact of the proposal versus not doing the proposal. The retrofit won't be required. That's not part of this. What the tag is to consider is, do we want to increase the cost of residential buildings by this much, or do nothing, not adopt a proposal where the cost is zero. And then I think infrastructure impacts, that's important to consider, but it can be hard to calculate at the tag level unless that analysis is already provided. And then I just want to also, I think somebody else brought this, but EV adoption rates, while they are increasing in Washington State, and Washington State is higher than other states, they're not increasing at the same rate equally across the state. There's some rural parts of the county or counties part of the state where there's not a lot of EV adoption. And what I'm hearing from our members that work on these types of residential buildings is they're putting in the required EV capable spaces or EV ready because they have to, but not necessarily because they need to. And that's where we're unnecessarily increasing the cost of residential buildings around the state. And these particular types of buildings are a really good price point for increasing housing supply, which I think is going to become an increased focus by the time this code is going into effect. So it's something that the tag should really consider the cost of increasing those type of housing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. And I do appreciate that argument, although I question if that's a 1 to 5 year argument and not a 5 to 30 to 60 year argument. So I would raise that to the tag to weigh in here. And I think what I want to do on this one is, this is our first one where, like we talked last week, where let's be careful how we approach this. Again, with the new legislation, the new statute, if we vote by majority to deny a proposal, then it does die. It cannot go for consideration, and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, by the committee and the council now that it's been passed down to the tag. So our options that we laid out last week are, we could move forward with trying to take action on this, and I propose that we do an affirmative. If it doesn't receive a majority vote in the affirmative to move forward, then we would have to take additional action to deny, or we propose, if we're still interested at the take for more information, to table this and then give the proponent and others a chance to add more information and be clear about what we're potentially asking for. So I'll leave it to the tag now to have that discussion. Or if the proponent would like to make any other comments as a rebuttal. Go ahead, Tim.
Just in regards to your concept that you're bringing up, I'm very comfortable tabling this if the proponent can kind of present what that original legislation was, and let us see if it was going beyond that, which I have to assume it is. So I don't necessarily know if they can get there, but it sounds like we got multiple of these. If there's another one right after this, that, if we want to take that opportunity to hit pause and then look at this to see if there's more information that we can get to say that we're not exceeding minimum, we're trying to stay within the goals that the state has set through those legislation numbers, that would be something I would be in favor of.
Thank you, Tim. White.
Yeah, I just go on record on the same with Tim. So I was basically going to pretty much say the same thing, so I don't need to repeat it.
Hey, go ahead, Ross. Thank you, White.
Yeah, I was going to say, yes, thank you for that opportunity. We'd be happy to go off and see if we can reinforce certain parts of the proposal and conduct the research that the council has advised, and bring this back in the future.
Okay, thank you, Ross. Roger.
Yeah, I just want to discuss in general. There's some noise here, and I missed a little bit of Patrick's comment about the life cycle analysis. As I read, and I think this is important for us as a tag to understand for this proposal and for others moving forward. it sounded to me like Patrick's opinion is that the life cycle cost analysis is pretty narrow, and I'm not sure that I agree with that. I think that, you know, a life cycle cost analysis in this case, comparing it to the installation cost today versus a retrofit cost in 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, whatever that number is, I think is completely appropriate. And I don't think that there's anything that says we shouldn't include that. So I do think as we go through this, it's important that we have a clear understanding of what the intent of the life cycle cost analysis is. And I actually, reading through this particular proposal, there's a whole lot of very good cost information outside of the you know, comparing this to the legislation, and should we go beyond the legislation? I think that's a separate question. But the appropriateness of the construction cost question and the life cycle cost question, you know, I think that if a proponent can go and have a clear understanding of what those costs are, yeah, I think that we should have a broad, the life cycle cost analysis should be a broad brush. I mean, we need to look at a lot of different things. It shouldn't just be a very narrow cost. And I also will say there's nothing that says that if there's a cost proposal that adds costs, that we can't pass it. We are doing building code, you know, to improve the building code. We need to do our best to choose the least cost if there are multiple proposals, but there is nothing that says we can't pass a bill that does end up increasing costs. So.
Okay, thank you, Roger. Patrick.
Yeah, so a couple of things. This form, the requirements are that the tags use consistent economic methodology, and the council has adopted this form. I'm not saying it's the best methodology. I'm not saying there's not ways to improve it. But this is what the council has adopted. And I think the form is pretty clear that when there's an economic impact, they need to fill out all the sections. And I'm trying not to be too ticky-tacky with this, but when something especially is going to increase costs for residential buildings, I think it increases with SB 6291, putting it into statute, that in order for proposals to be valid, the form has to be complete. If you're missing parts that the form very clearly requires, you are increasing the legal risk if the tag moves forward with this without having the form complete and the council were to adopt it, that increases the legal risk of being challenged on it. So I'm trying to bring up these concerns now so that they can be addressed, so that if the tag were to move forward with this proposal and the council were to adopt it, that it wouldn't increase your legal risk of being challenged because the proposal isn't complete. And then on the other side of it, you can absolutely, you know, the APA talks about considering the probable benefits outweigh the probable costs, and you might consider that into retrofit. But the purpose of this economic analysis is to look at the up or down. The tag action is either moving forward with the proposal or not moving forward with the proposal ultimately. And so that's either, do we increase the cost or do nothing, which is zero. The retrofit is not required in that case. So saying, well, if we do this, it's this cost, but it's less than the retrofit. The tag's not forcing a retrofit. So that's just what I was trying to argue there.
Okay. No, again, thank you, Patrick. I want to advise the tag. This is the technical advisory group. So this is a subject matter expert. So let's, focus on that. The legal aspects of that, we should be aware, but know that also that's to the appointed council members and staff and the legal counsel. So I think those are valid points, Patrick, but I really want us to focus on the technical aspects of this. And in that, I'm making the point, and maybe others are, that we're working on the building code, and we don't design buildings for the next, 1 to 5 years. We design it for 60 to 100 years. So I just want to make sure that we're having that kind of technical discussion of whether it's cost, integrity, safety. That's my argument, because the bar to approve is high, but I think that we need to also make sure that we do our due diligence that the bar to deny is high in this case. So Micah, go ahead, please.
I was just gonna ask if Patrick could restate that RCW you mentioned for the application completion information. That'd be helpful. Thanks. I wish there was a chat feature on Zoom.
We got in trouble with that before, Micah.
Let me Google it for you real quick, Micah.
Okay, well, let's I mean, we can obviously keep going, but we have another similar proposal here. So can we hear the will of the tag on desire to table or desire to approve?
Can I ask Ross if he would be in favor of us tabling both this proposal and the next proposal if they're going to be in the same boat? Instead of having that discussion now, we can gather that additional information and possibly that life cycle change. Otherwise, I'll make a motion to table the current proposal that's on the screen.
Yeah, thanks for that opportunity. We'd like to keep them separate just because we feel like the next one has a little bit more of a kind of cleanup nature to it, but it is also looking to the point that Todd was making earlier. It is looking way down the road at what could be necessary in the future for buildings that are going to be there 50, 70 years from now.
Okay, with that said, I would, this is Tim, and I would make a motion to table the current motion or the current proposal that's on the screen now.
Second.
Second.
Okay, I heard the motion from Tim, and then who's the second right before Hoyt?
Lance.
Lance. Okay, thank you, Lance. The second by Lance. Okay, any other discussion on 122? The motion is to table with the input given by the tag here, obviously, to the proponent. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so tabled. Ross, then Dustin and staff will reach out on kind of a desired timeline and bringing that back to the tag.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So then rolling into the next proposal, Ross, do you want to speak to 135, please?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so similar vein, but looking at this one, what we're doing here is try to build on some recommendations that came from a coalition of industry leaders back in March of 2022 in a letter to the State Council where they were advocating to have something in place for EV capable. Right now in the code, we have very little required there, and EV capable is an even cheaper prospect, but can still save a lot of money by doing it now versus later. So it's some of that same discussion about, costs for this aren't going to get cheaper. Retrofitting is always more expensive than doing it new construction. And from what we've seen in the City of Denver study, which is the best data we can find a couple of years ago now, an EV capable stall could be as little as $300 during new construction versus $2,500 during retrofit. So the first item in this proposal would be modifying the EV ready for multifamily from 10% up to 25%. The second piece is that we were, as you saw in the proposal, recommending some cleanup on some of the other components. We shared before how, as we all know, Washington is a zero emission state, and that it's unclear why there's an exemption for A, E, and M occupancies, all of which could potentially have a high number of parking stalls, and we haven't found an ordinance or a reason statement as to why they should be exempted, because these are places where people could charge. So we're recommending changes there too. And then just, yeah, in conclusion, we do also provide information about where funding opportunities could be found for this kind of work, and underscore the fact that even in places where demand is low now, we believe we're going to see a lot more people with EVs as that secondary market trickles down, and those people are going to be looking for charging that's convenient. And maybe actually I could also just ask Kathleen, she had 1 or 2 points to add here, if she wanted to enhance my testimony.
Would that be acceptable?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. My name's
Thank
Kathleen
you.
Petrie, and I am representing King County. Yeah, so we've actually proposed the deletion of the exceptions of section 429.2. So exception 1's been deleted because the accessibility requirements of 1107.1, 2.1 and 429.4 will require the mandated accessible parking space to have a charging station installed. So it really doesn't, it's kind of a moot thing. Exception 2.1 has been deleted because the building code doesn't regulate employee parking. And exception 2.2 has been deleted, just as Ross was saying. Yeah, the one installed charger for 200 parking spaces that was determined for the 2021 codes was kind of an arbitrary number. It was made as a floor modification last cycle, didn't have any substantial data or information around it. And so just to reiterate what Ross was saying is that there's really no strong reason why any occupancies should be exempt. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kathleen. Anyone like to speak to this? Micah?
Yeah, I'll jump in on this one. And Ross and Kathleen, on this section, I definitely want to be an advocate because I spoke up in saying that the building code does not regulate employee parking the way this is outlined. However, I was overruled on that based on the legislative language. If you eliminate this, at least exception 1, then we would be voting in something that goes against the legislation that explicitly exempts those items or that language for the employee parking under those specific occupancies. I believe the option 2 or exception 2 was included because of that concern that Kathleen mentioned. We didn't want to eliminate these occupancy locations from providing any EV parking. That was what came on for exception 2 there is like, hey, if you got this, we're going to still have you put in a little bit. And that's where the arbitrary number that Kathleen mentioned came in. But again, I'm not sure that the TAG can even vote to support this based on it would violate the state law as currently written. Thanks.
Yeah, I remember this conversation. Anyone else have a comment on that? Go ahead, Hoyt.
Yeah, this is Hoyt Teeter, Principal Engineer at City of Tacoma. I don't know the state law. I'm not a lawyer or anything like that. But with Micah bringing up something that would violate the state law, I feel uncomfortable voting for something that violates a state law. I mean, and so without being knowledgeable or being confirmed that that is definitely what the state law says, if someone can verify that, I would have to vote against this. So.
Thank you, Hoyt. Go ahead, Patrick.
Yes, thank you. I'm assuming with this proposal as well that there's not a prepared life cycle cost analysis.
That's correct. We treated it the same manner of providing information about incremental cost and then sources of funding to cover those.
This one would have a slightly lower cost impact compared to EV ready, but it would still have a cost impact for residential buildings. And what Mike asked for the RCW for the incomplete petitions, it's RCW 19-27032. incomplete petitions for statewide amendments or petitions that exceed the specific delegation of authority provided by the legislature shall not be considered by the council for action. If the proponents are going to be, if the tag chooses to let the proponents modify this so it complies with the code language requirements of the statute, I would just say that if they want to reduce the risk of there being any challenges to this being considered for adoption, to amend or to revise it and include a life cycle cost analysis. Although that one probably matters more for the EV ready. And then if they can include cost calculations for per dwelling cost, since it affects residential, and then getting more to the policy side of it, once again, housing crisis. Housing is so unaffordable across the nation, but especially in Washington State. I think we should be looking for every possible way that we can to lower the cost of construction for residential buildings, especially ones like 12 unit, 24 unit, 36 unit walk-ups that are a really great affordable option to increase housing density in a really reasonable way for a lot of local jurisdictions. And consider that this is a minimum code, and it just, in my mind, it does not make sense across the state to require this increased EV charging infrastructure when EV adoption rates just still aren't there. There are a lot of incentives, but I think incentives as a policy mechanism work on their own. You don't have to have a stick to follow up with that. And as EV adoption rates go up, there will be more of an incentive, market incentive for people to include EV charging in their buildings so that they can appeal to tenants. I don't think that we need to increase the requirement here. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Micah?
Thank you, Patrick, for that RCW number. And just so I'm clear, and Hoyt asked, it is RCW 19.27.540, item 2B, that states for occupancies classified as assembly, education, or mercantile, the requirements of this section only apply to employee parking spaces. So it also states the requirements of this section do not apply to occupancies classified as utility or miscellaneous. So again, that exception is part of the RCW that I don't think we can vote this forward, or you all could vote this forward. I'm not on the tag, but that's the RCW. Thanks.
Well, just to be clear, Micah, you're talking about the strikeouts. This proposal has two components. It has the table change and then the strikeout, and you're referring to the strikeout.
Correct.
The exceptions.
Can you state the RCW again?
RCW 19.27.540, item 2B.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Brett?
Yes, this is regarding the strikeouts, especially 2.1. As an architect, parking calculations are based on occupancy, and I'm just concerned the ratcheting up of EV parking spaces for assembly, education, and mercantile occupancies being that strikeout being applied, because that would tilt the values significantly higher in those occupancies where visitors are coming for a shorter period of time versus obviously employees are there for a longer duration. So while in fact we don't necessarily do designated employee parking places, the quantity of parking places is calculated in the building code and then supported by land use codes. So it's not necessarily accurate to say that the building codes don't target employee parking places.
Okay, thank you, Brett. Roger?
Yeah, I just wanted to, Patrick brings up policy discussions, and I just wanted to remind everybody that by 2035, there will be no more, all new cars sold will be EV. So I think that we know that the increase, the number of cars that need to be charged is going to increase by state statute. So I think if we are doing something, and this is from a policy perspective, where we can show, particularly if we can show incentives for financing of those, doing more now does not make, it's not make a difference at all. I mean, if it costs less to do it today than it does in 2035, why would we not do it? And particularly if there is funding available. And then my second point is, I would like to be really careful about, I appreciate very much Micah showing us exactly what the statute says. I'm not an attorney either, but I have been involved in plenty of legal cases, and trust me, no two people can interpret legislation two different ways. So if we are going to base decisions on fear of legal concerns, I agree with Todd. That's something that the full council should weigh if we think that there is potential legal concerns about it. Not the tag. And if we are going to consider specifically legislation, then I think that we need to have that RCW up in front of us so we can make a decision and read it. Okay, yes, we agree that there is that is exactly what that legislation says, not take somebody's interpretation of what that legislation says.
Thank you, Roger. Tim.
So my comments are in regards to that employee parking portion again, and I understand it sounds like that was kind of maybe discussed at length this last proposal where this went in, but it sure seems like it's a gap. And what I mean by that is we have no way of legislating or creating a prescriptive code for employee parking. I would be interested if a proponent were to bring something forward for those types of occupancies that kind of created a baseline or like a percentage that is perceived to be the employee parking number, so that we're applying the rule consistently. And I think that could in turn be justified as kind of meeting the intent of the legislation. What I would hate to see is somebody say we're not providing employee parking because they're not required by anything that I'm aware of, and then in turn not providing the associated EV parking that the legislation was clearly trying to get them to comply with. I don't know how that would look or the legislative components of that, but I just want to throw that out there as an option that we can't regulate what's in there now. So I would really interested to see somebody bring forward a proposal that could maybe help us calibrate that in a prescriptive manner instead of a subjective one. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. Comment. Michael.
Some of the same argument as the other, that, you know, again, this is a minimum code, and it seems like by eliminating the exceptions, that really, that doesn't affect the big projects. What that affects are your small mom and pop facilities, your smaller businesses that have a small parking lot of less than 10. So I think that's disproportionate also by removing the exception for those smaller facilities. I think it's also important to remember that any owner can add the facilities if they want to, and they should. And that's the way the market-driven pieces work. Any facility that currently has employees, for example, asking for electric charging or stations, they always can add that. And I don't think having it mandated for every facility, including every very small facility, is consistent with the thoughts of a minimum code.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Micah.
Michael, that was great commentary there and information. I agree with you. I just want to respond to Roger for a minute and others. I'm not going off that information as my interpretation. And I'm going to ask Dustin if he can pull the proposal back up on the screen. Roger, originally when this came through, I'm just giving you historical background, not my interpretation. I proposed striking through those exceptions and not including them originally. I was outvoted by the council because the council's determination was that if we got rid of those, we would violate the legislation. I'm in favor of this proposal. So let me be clear there. That was my argument all along, was this language should not be included at all. Originally, I voted against this proposal the whole way through the entire council. I got outvoted. It's not my interpretation. I'm giving you the history of the interpretation and how we got here. I'm in favor of this proposal. We don't regulate employee parking, and all occupancies may need to provide this EV infrastructure. So again, I'm in favor of this. That's not my interpretation, council's interpretation.
That's fine, Mike. I was using it as an example. Is we can't take somebody's interpretation. We really, if we're going to start using that as a defining decision-making point, we really should have the legislation up in front of us so we can read it.
Agreed. Yeah. And I agree with this proposal, because it was, I'm like, we don't regulate this, but so they said, no, it's in the legislation. It's got to be included. So I was outvoted on that one. I think it was like a 10-2 vote or something like that overall. So thanks.
Okay, well, I guess the question is the tag now. We have a new tag, we have a new council, newer council. What would you like to do on this? And one other comment I would make is thank you for all the feedback on, one of the things we're probably missing in terms of data is what the possible diffusion is of EV. Because a couple good points were made there. Again, we're at the bottom of the curve right now. What is the real diffusion rate, either voluntary or regulatory? Because I think that's not aligning with the concept of first cost, is not aligning with where we will be in X number of years. What I mean is, what was the basis of the legislation that established some of these very specific requirements? Okay. What would you like to do?
I'll throw something out there. That's considering this does go to the overall SBCC to make the same interpretation they did before. The exceptions, considering, well, I won't even say exception 1, I'll say exception 2, where it asks you to consider employee parking. I believe technically is a sound justification that we can't have this in there when the building code doesn't regulate employee parking. That said, I would be in favor of striking exception 2, and then not making the changes proposed for exception 1, nor the increase from 10% to 25% under our occupancies, and let the State Building Code Council determine whatever they do in regards to the legislation and the legality of it.
On 1. Is that what you meant, Tim?
What's that?
You would.
I would strike exception 2,
right,
or modify this proposal to strike exception 2, and then undo what the other proposals within it, which are striking exception 1, and also increasing from 25 to 10%. I don't know if we can modify proposals that drastically, but that would be my suggestion.
Josh, thank you, Tim.
Yeah, new to this process, so I'm just gonna ask a question. When if some of these are approved, or if there's a motion to approve that passes, can that motion include some kind of flagging of this legality concern?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll say yes, because I think it's really important that the commentary and opinion of, since we are an advisory group, is the important piece there. Yeah.
See other hands up, but I'd be willing to make a motion to vote on this with the condition that the council is looking over the legality of it.
Okay. Michael, do you want to jump in first?
Sure. Yeah, I just want to build on Tim's suggestion. If exception number 2 is going to be struck, then the first part of exception number 1 would also need to be struck. So that exception number 1 would simply refer to the parking lots of less than 10, because that, except for group A, group E, and group M occupancies, is the precursor for exception number 2.
I see your point. That's true, Michael. So I haven't made any official motion yet. I was just kind of throwing it out there that that's kind of where my mind is going, is I still just can't see the building code regulating employee parking because it just doesn't. There's no provisions for it anywhere. So I don't see how that, I just don't see how that goes in the building code.
Go ahead, Micah.
Sorry, I was going to wait for a motion, but I did want to discuss the last item of this proposal that's not been shown on the screen, and that's the signage requirement. Am I looking at the correct proposal, folks? Yeah, the last section.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
5. I like where they're trying to go with that. However, in that RCW that they list there, it indicates that those spaces for EV would be signed to only allow EV. And I think that would be a mistake. There are accessible parking stalls that are still allowed to be used by accessible vehicles that are non-EV, even though they're EV accessible stalls as a requirement of legislation. So I'm not sure that's quite technically accurate, or that we should fully support that, because you want to have those accessible stalls to still be used by accessible vehicles that are non-EV. And this RCW listed there doesn't allow that. Thanks.
Go ahead, Hoyt. Thank you, Micah.
Yeah, I just want to agree with Micah. That was the same thing I was going to talk about on that signage thing. That was something when they're saying just for EV, we're missing accessibility stuff. So it should be in combination. So I just want to.
Thank you. Go ahead, Hoyt. Ross or Kathleen, do you have any rebuttal to anything you've heard here, or any desire for the tag?
Go ahead, Kathleen.
Yeah, thank you very much. We would be pleased to come back with the revisions that have been discussed. I think there were to modify exception number 1, to continue the strikeout of exception 2, and then delete the signage component, as well as I understand the EV capable increase, unless perhaps we can come up with an argument that is stronger. And of course the LCCA on with respect to dollars. Would that be accurate?
I think that sounds pretty comprehensive. Anyone else have any thoughts? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, then thank you. And back to the tag, what would you like to do?
So
make a motion to table this until it was modified and brought back.
Okay, thank you, Lance.
I second that.
And second by Hoyt. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor of tabling signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. It is tabled. Thank you all for that. Thank you to the proponents. Okay, we have 15 minutes left, 17 minutes. So let's move into, I believe we're on 12, right? Patrick, BIW proposal 068.
I think Josh has a question. Or
go ahead, Josh.
Just quickly letting folks know I'll be hopping off into taking off the attendance from here.
We should be okay on the quorum when you take off.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Dustin.
You're welcome.
Okay, with that, Patrick, would you like to speak to your proposal?
Yes, thank you. So for the record, this is Patrick Hanks with the Building Industry Association of Washington. I came up with this proposal when I was talking with members of ours that work on the construction of residential buildings that fall in the R2 occupancy. So typically 12, 24, 36 unit walk-ups. And what I was hearing from them is that they were complying with these EV charging infrastructure requirements because they had to, but not necessarily because they needed to. It didn't always make business sense. And so it was an unnecessary cost that was getting added to construction. And so I tried looking for a simple way to alleviate that burden. And I thought adding R2 occupancy as an exception would work. However, after making the proposal, I became aware of RCW 1927 540. If you could pull that up, please, Dustin. This is the section we've been talking about with the other proposals, the statute that requires this language. So after I read through, I think it's 3A there that says this section, applies to all types of residential and commercial buildings. So I think adding R2 as an exception would violate this statute. So as currently written, I would not recommend the tag consider this proposal. When I was looking at this, though, it seems like the current code language exceeds the statute in regards to the EV capable requirement. Statute there at the top of 2A says that the EV capable parking spaces have to be 10% or one parking space or 10%, whichever is greater. And the current code goes up to 25. So if the tag is willing, I could modify, revise my proposal to change the EV capable requirement for our occupancies from 25 to 10%. Once again, this is the minimum code requirement. So, there's places in the state where I think it would make sense to have an even larger number of EV capable or EV ready parking spaces where there's lots of EV adoption. There's lots of potential tenants that have electric vehicles, and trying to attract them with that is a great advantage. There's parts of the state where they need to increase housing. They need more residential buildings, but they don't have a lot of EVs. So having that as a minimum requirement won't always make sense. And then that doesn't remove, there's lots of incentives out there. There's lots of market reasons to add these things. So if it makes business sense to add this in, people can still do it, but changing that minimum requirement just so that it lowers costs a little bit, I thought would be prudent. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And I don't think that it was uploaded with the document, but I did supply a life cycle cost analysis for my original proposal when I emailed it in.
So I have that here. Patrick, just a question for you. If you were making these revisions, would it also impact this particular document?
It wouldn't. It would change it because instead of removing the requirement a little bit, it would just lower it. So I could supply a new one with the revision.
Okay.
Go ahead, Tim, while we're looking at this.
I was just going to say, in the spirit of what we're doing with the other proposals, if the proponent wants to try to change it to comply with what that legislation stipulates, then I would be happy to have them do that and bring it back. So to Patrick's question, if he made that modification or made that change, the only thing I would question is that changes to the table, which is not part of this proposal. So is it allowed to do that based on the rules? And if it is allowed, then I would probably be willing to make a motion to table this to have him come back with that other supporting documentation rather.
I think
I
that's
second that. I
it's a
second
hard
that because
question whether or not it's allowed or not. I don't think there's any hard fast rule saying that it can't be modified to include the table in this section, but maybe a more attractive approach might be to include the table work with maybe some collaboration with our other proponents. Maybe we can link up Patrick and Ross and Kathleen, and they can collaborate on something like that to include the table work. But I don't see any reason why we couldn't, if he's going to modify this and bring it back with some table changes, why we couldn't allow that to come back just from Patrick as well.
Roger, go ahead, and then I have a question.
Yeah, I just want to, I recognize that we are trying to adhere to the new legislation about, conforming to the process, to the forms that we've done. But stepping back, ultimately the important thing is that the public has an opportunity to weigh in on this. My opinion is we need to be relatively broad or lax. If Patrick feels like he can change this and the intent of his proposal is still what the intent was, let's do that. I mean, we still have the public, we will then discuss the proposal again at the next meeting or the one after that or whatever. And then there's the whole process that goes through. If it goes past the tag, it goes to the full to the standing committee and then the full IBC. So, we are not, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, but we are not in any way, shape, or form trying to do something that the public doesn't have the opportunity to weigh in on. So I would think if Patrick wants to change this and bring it back, the intent of what he's trying to do is the same. So I would be okay with it.
Yeah, thank you, Roger. I agree with that also. I think that needs to be our approach early on. And if the proponent would like to make those changes, of course it's up to the tag, but I agree with that. I guess I do have questions, Patrick. First of all, I really appreciate your explanation. I kind of came to that same conclusion. It got me to revisit, 1927-540, but more importantly, I remember the bill in 2021, which was House Bill and gross second substitute House Bill 1287. That bill was led to a lot of our discussion here today, and there's a couple things in it. It was very specific about eliminating the R3 and opening the consideration for all residential. The other thing, if you're interested, go back to the first section where the legislature made the declaration about widespread adoption of zero emissions, vehicles by 2050, and this is really the whereas they led into a lot of these mandates. To my question, Patrick, I didn't follow what you meant by in that. Were you saying in that bill was go ahead. Why don't you restate the second part of your proposal?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Apparently, I'm not either, because
I think what he's referring to is, where did you get it's only 10%, because that 25% is a very specific number. I think we all assumed that came from that legislation. So you had that other RCW up, but could you kind of restate where that's found in there?
Yeah, I didn't look at the original legislation. I just was looking at the statute. And this is my reading. I could be wrong, but I thought that the meaning of the top of 2A there says that the EV capable spaces must be the greater of 1% or 1 parking space or 10% of parking spaces. And then it does say that the rules have to exceed those specific minimums. So, but the accessible stuff is 10%. So I don't know if you have to go above 10% or if 10% is fine.
Okay, so it's not important, but if you're interested, yes, that section, that part of the section wasn't changed in 2021. It was it was 3A that was added, 3A and 3B, where. Okay.
And I wasn't part of I wasn't part of the original adoption process for this code language, so I don't know what the rationale was for making it 25%.
Okay, well, it sounds like there's, go ahead, Tim. Okay.
I just had
it sounds like there's
sorry.
Right there. But nonetheless, if the desire of the tag is to let the proponent go back and table this, that could be part of that exploration. Okay, is that the action the tag would like to propose, or is it already on the table?
I don't think we have an official motion yet.
Okay, thank you.
This is Tim, and I would be in favor of allowing the proponent to maybe do some research for all of us and possibly even see where the 25% came from in the past code, and then bring back that proposal if you believe that the minimum requirements set forth in the RCW would allow that reduction.
I second that.
Okay. Moved by Tim, second by Hoyt. Thank you. Any other discussion on that? All those in favor of tabling signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. That one's tabled. Thank you, Patrick, for
Thank
bringing
you.
that forward.
Thank you for that.
I hope it doesn't feel like we're stalling here by tabling 3 of these, but I think we're having productive discussion here. Okay, so now we're at 6 minutes to go. Do we want to enter into the next proposal, which is, I believe would be Hoyt on heliports on 130? Or do we want to,
I'm fine with it. It's pretty quick, actually. So,
okay.
Could
Let's
we
use our time
save
then.
a
Go
little
ahead,
bit
Hoyt.
of time at the end here just to talk about the future meetings, about maybe 2 or 3 minutes?
No, I think we probably should just have that discussion then.
Yeah. So my concern is that, while we're having great discussion and I appreciate everybody's input, we're not maybe making the traction and mileage that we need to make to complete by the appropriate time to get this put before our November council meeting. And so I would just like to propose that we schedule 3-hour meetings moving forward to try to get a little bit more mileage per meeting. And I would propose 1 till 4 for meetings.
Okay. Does anyone have concern with that commitment? We do have a lot of work to do. Roger's thumbs up, Tim's thumbs up. Okay. Roger, do you have a comment?
I do. Dustin, is there some place that you have a master list of all of the proposals?
Yes, so we haven't been posting that online because the website's not built for a master list, but if you would like a master list of proposals, I could get that out to you.
I just think it would be good for the tag to get our arms around, the total book of work we've got to do.
Okay.
And I do think that there are some, I know we've gotten, the last 2 meetings, we've gotten kind of held up on some, items that take discussion, but I believe there are some real simple ones. I know that the work we did before, the tag work, those I think are pretty straightforward, that we've decided we need to make the changes and basically adopt the proposals from last code cycle and just bring them forward. So again, maybe we could get those and try to work through a bunch of those. But anyway, I would be interested in seeing just the total, the full list. So
Yes, I'll make that available to the tag members.
Dustin,
Okay,
is the
Micah?
full list the one that's on the 2024 update page under the IBC? That's already had that one.
So, for the 2024 SBCC rulemaking page, the full body of proposals is in here, but it's broken out into, we have the IBC code change proposals here. We are looking to update this particular one after this meeting. The first couple lines have some changes here in the right-hand columns. After today, some of the stuff that we have on today's meeting will be updated, and meeting dates will be updated as well on there. This shouldn't say IBC, IEBC. That's a drafting mistake on us because we also have the existing building code as its separate accordion in here. So this is our group for the IEBC. And then currently we also have the mechanical and fuel gas code and fire code with proposals. The energy code is a little bit behind and out of sync with our group 1 process because of some delays of the publication of the ICC model code document.
Is it fair to say that if the list seems long, trust your instincts, because we went back to doing the whole IBC at once?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Micah.
Just out of curiosity, would the tag be able to ask the SBCC for more time? My understanding, if we don't meet the December 1st timeline, we would have to vote to keep certain areas open for completion. And since we were already 4 months behind, maybe we need to ask for that extra time. Again, I'm not on the tag, but just thinking of how many's on the list. Thanks.
So as I understand the process, the December 1 deadline is not critical this year, but it is critical next year. So yes, we could have more time for this body of work. The concern being that Group 2 proposals are supposed to begin starting to come in and being heard in the early part of 2025. And that will also coincide with the legislative session. And with, staffing being what it is right now, is a large, it's a tough row to hoe to get that one done. So it's my sincere desire to get Group 1 across the line before the legislative session starts. So that could potentially give us one more month, but it's also the holiday season where folks, are eating turkey and taking naps and not necessarily doing all the good work outside of business hours.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you, Mike. I think it's a fair question, though, that now that we see the number of proposals, now we have a number to raise that question to both the staff and the council for discussion. And for the tag to weigh in. Okay, anything else? We're 1 minute over.
No, so I'll just say we'll expect the meeting invites to change to include the 3-hour timeline. We'll keep them at the same proposed days. Next week we have one on Monday. Let's keep that one at a 2-hour one, but moving forward, we'll head on with the 3-hour meetings.
Okay, and thank you everyone for your commitment to this. Please give feedback to me and or Dustin and staff if you think we're going too slow or give enough consideration. So with that, we are adjourned.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Every-
Decent meeting flying.
Thank you.
Everyone have a good